throughout this that I don't think any of us thought about was our staff members who work in our maintenance departments, who are working around electricity, some with very high voltage electricity, as well as the welders. Is it fire retardant? We conducted some tests on that, and the body armor itself is actually, it's not going to burn. However, the carrier wouldn't burn, it would melt, causing a problem. We went back to the body armor manufacturer and said, look, can you provide us with a fire retardant carrier? And they did. And currently we have issued that to our electrical staff and staff work with electrical, most critical in the welders, and what's going to be throughout all maintenance. The next slide is heat-related claims. Like I said, as a department, we've tracked this since 2005. You're going to see the claims have dropped wearing body armor. So the claim that this is a health issue, that we're having all these complaints, that people are becoming ill and they're having problems, the statistics show that that's not true. July 30th, 1997, Corrections Officer Frederick Baker was killed when he was stabbed in the back by an inmate in Bayside State Prison, Leesburg, New Jersey. At that time, Governor Whitman immediately ordered all corrections officers in the state of New Jersey wear body armor. As a result of that, at that time, Secretary Horn was the secretary. He also saw the need for that. He wanted Pennsylvania's corrections officers to protect them to have body armor. So that's when we got into body armor. June 20th, 2008, Corrections Officer Jose Rivera was killed as an inmate with a homemade weapon in the United States Penitentiary at Atwater, California. He was also killed again by an inmate who came at him and was stabbed in the body, not in the head or the neck, but in the body. I believe it was in his heart. I'm also going to read, and I have, if anyone would like it, on May 6, 2011, it came out that the Council of Prisons, CPL, and the American Federation of Government Employees, AFGE, secured a significant victory in this fight to have all Bureau of Prisons correctional officers outfitted with stab-resistant vests. This comes from the CPL president of the union. This is a tremendous opportunity to enhance worker safety. We've been asking the agency to responsibly issue stab-resistant vests for years. In addition to that, from the AFGE, the American Federation's Government Employees Union, we're happy that the BOP has agreed to work with us and provide critical protective equipment to corrections officers. Working in a prison is dangerous, and employees deserve to be protected. We need to keep our workers safe. Rising inmate population results in dangerous work environments for staff. Providing protective equipment would greatly enhance worker safety and help officers defend themselves during violent outbreaks. Those officers are fighting for what we currently have. In conclusion, we've worked with, and I'm happy to say that we have, worked with Pscoa when I believe every step of the way of being the chairperson of the body armor. They were on the committee. They were in the process of selecting the body armor threat level. They were in the process of providing the body armor company. We continue to work as hard as we can to address any of the issues that may arise. And it's one of our priorities. We're trying to be proactive rather than reactive. We don't want to read in CNN or in the newspaper that a Pennsylvania State Corrections officer was killed as a result of being stabbed when they could have been wearing body armor and we didn't provide it. You know, we're trying to protect them the best that we can. In addition to that, I'd like to close by saying that in addition to selecting the body armor and the threat level, the committee asked that an independent laboratory get involved in this to test our body armor, which was provided. Myself, as well as, and I don't remember who all was representing Pscoa, but as a group of us, we flew to Wichita, Kansas, to the independent testing lab. At that testing lab, the union provided weapons, actual weapons that came out of institutions, and said, here, stop these. And they did. I have a CD here which was filmed with the union president during this testing. We did the California ice pick test, which is what the NIJ standard for corrections armor, as well as we did the ice pick test, which is also what I have here and I'll pass around, of what the body armor is designed to stop, has to stop to get its credentials. In addition to that, we tested all the weapons that were provided right there at the time with the union president, and nothing penetrated. Nothing stabbed went through this weapon, through this body armor, and no slashing went through the body armor. At this time, I'd like to now introduce Mr. Ed Bach.
Before you start, sir, are you submitting a copy of the CD to us? Or?
Yes, we will provide a copy of the video.
All right. Just a couple questions. I assume Mr. Bachner is going to talk a little bit what you were just talking about the stab resistance and so forth. I was cheating, looking ahead just a little bit.
Yes, sir. He's going to come up with understanding the standard, where we come up, how the standard originated, what the standard means. He's going to explain that in detail.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then I'll wait for that. You talked about the 1997 the killing of a corrections officer in New Jersey, and that prompted the then secretary to want to impose, introduce vests into Pennsylvania. Can you kind of give me the history a little bit between 97 and 2005? Like, did anything happen between 97 and 2005, or it didn't come about until 2005?
No, if I recall correctly, body armor was introduced, and it was mandatory at the time. And then at the time, the union didn't want it to be mandatory; they wanted it to be optional. So they went to being an optional wear, whether officers could wear it or they didn't. The problem with that is that we're spending $4 million a year, no one's wearing it. No one wore it. And so we're just replacing $4 million every year of body armor that's just not being worn. It's thrown in a closet somewhere in the trunk.
That was going to be my other question to you. Like, what is the shelf life on these vests? If you buy one tomorrow, how long is that going to last?
Well, that determines, and I think Mr. Bachner is probably more of an expert in that area, but what I can tell you in working this in my background is that there is no shelf life for body armor. If you take a body armor and you put it in a controlled environment, let it sit there in the dark where it's not subject to the heat, sunlight, things like that, it's my understanding, Ed may disagree with me, but he's the expert. It's my understanding that body armor, whether it's now or 10 years from now, is going to be the same. What degrades body armor is heat, sweat, being bent back and forth, things like that. That's why the outer cover of this doesn't allow, or has a UV on it, as also doesn't penetrate sweat and things like that. Manufacturer, 5 years.
Right.
Manufacturer's warranties 5 years on body.
Do you know how often and how many vests are being purchased each year by the department?
We did this initially, I'm going to say just about everyone's being done. What happened was that we were going to implement this in phases because that would be more cost effective. At that time, Secretary Beard said no. He said, this is the body armor that was selected, this is the body armor that they wanted, this is the body armor that they feel is going to protect them, you're going to replace it now. So at that time, all the vests that were out of warranty were replaced immediately.
And when you say at that time, that's 2005 or 2006?
Yes, sir. And then if you had body armor, it was already under warranty, may not be of Armor Express or Second Chance at that time, it was still within warranty that they were to wear that. Unless they didn't want to. If they said, no, I want the new body armor, then they were issued a new body armor. They were fitted. So right now what we're doing, we're now in the process of the department of now replacing all this body armor.
I was going to say, you're hitting that 5 years,
right? We are now in the process of reordering body armor for staff. Yes.
All right, Mr. Bachner, if you want to go forward.
Can I follow up with one question?
Sir.
You mentioned, and then just following up on what Mr. True said, you said in 1997 there was a New Jersey corrections officer with staff. Can you give us, within the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, any example of any member who resisted injury because of a since the issuance of the mandatory wear provision?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, thought so. Thank you.
It's my purpose today to try and explain a little bit of the genesis of the standard that this vest is certified to, and to help people understand what this vest is, as well as what it isn't. The Police Scientific Development Branch of the United Kingdom Home Office is the
Hold on, sir.
origin. I'm sorry.
Just having trouble hearing you. I don't know if the microphone's on or if you just pull it closer to you. There you
Is
go.
this better?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
You can't hear me? Oh, okay. Give me a minute.
Is my microphone on?
You really want
No,
Sean?
I'm on.
No.
turn back together.
I'm on now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The body armor that is purchased by the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections is certified by the National Institute of Justice of the United States against spike level 2, the mid-level spike resistance, which is that engineered ice pick on steroids, as you see with the machine tip to it, very, very sharp ice pick. It comes from the Police Scientific Development Branch of the UK, who did the original research on how to engineer both hard tempered knife resistant body armor, and eventually then that was adapted to sharp and shank resistant or puncture resistant armor. Back sometime in the mid-90s, a research project was funded to try and study the dynamics of what happens during a knife attack or a thrust attack. And this artifact that you see on your slide is best known as the UK Stabometer. It's an instrumented, well-guarded, well-handled blade that was used to study the dynamics of physical attacks. Two different forms of attack were used. The so-called overhand stabbing motion, which is an overt and motion that is reasonably easy to see from a distance coming at you. And then the so-called thrust, or the sneaky thrust motion, to determine and measure what kind of energies are generated amongst very strong, healthy individuals. And they used, incidentally, a lot of police officers and corrections officers in the UK to try and determine the maximum kinds of energies that can be generated when a person does one of those two types of attack. As we can all expect, the overhand stab attack method generated the highest energies. The underhand or thrust type attacks generated lower energies, but were the energies that were judged to be the major threat in covert attacks, where an attacker is close to the individual and tries to go to the vital organs of the torso. The other judgments that were utilized at that time in the choice of the energies was the fact that it is very difficult to protect the torso from overhead type stabbing motions. Other methods of protection are needed there, either other kinds of coverage or people being aware and protecting themselves with nightsticks or other things. It's the stealthy attack that was judged to be both in the UK, outside and inside the prisons, to be of most concern. And you probably understand already, in the UK, the police officers were more concerned with knife attacks than weapons, because weapons have not been very openly available firearms in the UK until fairly recently. The other thing that was determined during these instrumented studies was that the